Heraclitus, man. He's one of the most renowned philosophers of ancient Greece. And I didn't quite understand why until I gotten a little bit further into his stuff. It was said that when he lectured, he would stand at the front of his classroom, not classroom, but he'd stand in front of his students and just wiggle his finger back and forth like this. And people would just nod and go, yeah. And it's one of the things I hate when we talk about philosophy, because people think philosophy, like I saw this meme one time where someone said they walked into their philosophy class on the first day and their professor asked, why? And then someone says, why not? And then the professor said, and gave him an A. And that's not what philosophy is. Philosophy, you're seeking clarity. You're seeking to understand things. Every science, chemistry, biology, physics, every science starts as a philosophy. Artificial intelligence started as a philosophy. And philosophy takes it, puts it together, and then sets the rules for science to then come along and take it over. And so what Heraclitus was pointing out when he was wiggling his finger was that we really can't talk about things, because the second that we start talking about something, it's not so much that we're talking about it as it is, but we're talking about it as it was in the past. In other words, your body right now, if I were to talk about your body, at the very beginning of that sentence, of course, as you were saying, your body is different than it is now. Cells have died. Cells have grown. Your brain has changed in that you've now heard part of a sentence and it's been updated. You've taken in some stimuli by looking around the room. Light has affected you. You are constantly evolving and changing thing. And so the second that I start talking about you, am I talking about the you as you are right now, or am I talking about the you that you were at 9, 10, and 15, 17, no, 18 seconds, 19 seconds? Which you is it that we're talking about? Am I talking about the you who you are today, or am I talking about the you who you were when you were 5 years old? Does anybody remember the first time you went to the beach? I go surfing, and so you can, obviously, especially during summertime, people take their little kids to the beach, and it's one of the greatest things in the world to see like a little, I don't know how old this is, just something this big. How old is this? How old? 3, 4? Yeah. However old this big is, walking out to the water like a little gorilla. That's how little kids walk. They walk like low like this. And so, I don't know what it is. I've been noticing these guys around campus now, like, it's always the same guys with like fuzzy head and sweatshirts, and they're walking like cowboys around here. I don't know. They don't even have boots, you know. Anyway, you see these little kids, and they're walking out towards the water like a little gorilla. And these are the particularly well-adjusted ones, by the way, whose parents aren't holding their hands. And then they'll look back, and their parents are like, 200 yards away, which is actually like, from here to the stool in reality. But for them, because they're so far away from their parents, because their parents are the center of their explored universe. That's what they're used to. Wherever their parents are, that's where they are. So the further away that you get from your explored universe, that's a level of maturity, because it indicates a level of independence from them. It's just like the further away that you get from your teachers, a teacher's goal is to make you become independent of us, so that you can learn how to think on your own, not what to think, hopefully, but how to think. And so you're always welcome to come back and ask our views on things, or ask for some guidance. But the goal is that someday you'll go from being the guided into becoming the guide. Now, the real tragedy, by the way, is when you stop becoming the guided. In other words, when you no longer have someone that you can bounce ideas and mentorship off of. Because then it's difficult now for you to get that growth of things that you can't see in yourself. But anyway, so these little kids will start to walk out to the ocean. And if any of you can remember the first time that you stepped into the ocean, and maybe you weren't 2 or 3 years old, maybe you weren't this old, maybe you were this old. Some of you maybe were this old. Think about the first time that you stepped into that ocean. They'll go out there, the water will come up, and then they'll like, especially if they're particularly secure, they'll laugh and they'll like back out like, did you see that water just came out of nowhere, man? Like, even though it's been ebbing and receding the whole time they're walking out there, and they'll look back and their parents will laugh. And then just to make sure they're secure and they're safe, and they'll start to walk out there again. But that water that's hitting them right now is not the same water that hit them just a few seconds ago, because now it's the second time that they're feeling it. The first time you're not sure what to make of things. And that's why it's so exciting. And that's why it's so exhilarating. Because the second time, it's a little bit less, maybe. Third time, maybe a little bit less. Of course, there are some things in life that you can enjoy them. It's almost like a bell curve. You'll enjoy them a bunch the first time, but after you get used to it and you know what to expect and you know what to look for and you know how to enjoy it, well, then you can start to hit a peak. But then there becomes this thing in life, and you especially see this with particularly old people who will say, it's a tragedy also when I hear it from young people also who say, I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all. Because once you think that you've seen it all, it's probably time to get into the box. Because that means that you think you've experienced it all. But you haven't. It's not possible. It's literally impossible to experience everything. Because you experienced the beach when you were 3 years old. But it's different when you're 13. Why? As the beach has changed, that's true. And you'll see people who will say, guard tower, that's a new guard tower, isn't it? yeah, they just built that guard tower last summer. That's changed. And some of you, when you, maybe you'll go to college or maybe you'll take a job out of town and then you'll leave National City and then you'll come back a few years from now, or several years from then actually, and you'll say things like, what's that? Oh, it's a BDS shop. That used to be a 7-Eleven. Oh my God, my friends and I used to go to that 7-Eleven, all that, and you'll start to reminisce, and you'll stop yourself and go, why do I sound so old? I'm 25. Because when you were 5 years old, what does a 25-year-old sound like when you're 5 years old? I mean, I'll tell you, when I was 10 years old, do you know what a 40-year-old sounds like? I'm dying. I'm so old. I'm going to die. You know what a 40-year-old sounds like to me today? Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? Yeah. Because your perspectives will change because you have changed. Because if you have any good sense, you're changed by every experience. Or at least you recognize that you're changed by every experience. Let me say that again. You recognize that you're changed by every experience because every experience does change you. It sharpens you or it dulls you. It excites you or it jades you. Everything, if you're doing it right, you can at least recognize it. It's not, again, that it doesn't change you. It absolutely does change you. The question is, does it change you passively so that you are changed? Or does it change you actively so that you're deciding how you're going to be changed and what you're going to gain and grow from it? Because it is a choice with every experience. And now that's a really uncomfortable place, by the way, for a lot of us to be, because then you start to realize, well, if I'm changed by my experiences, I'd better be really, really damn cautious of the experiences in which I engage. Movies change you when you encounter them. You might think, no, it doesn't. Of course it does. It does. At least in some little way, some movies will change you enormously. A lot of movies over time change you, even if little by little, gradually. Even if the trajectory at which you're going is changing you just a little bit every time that you go from it, and you think you're on this straight line. Of course you're not. Look how far you've come from the center now because you've been changed little by little. Think about the music that you listen to. Think about the movies that you watch. Think about the conversations that you have. All of those things are changing you. Some are going to change you in your life like that, But even then, when it changes you, you're still a little bit off of where you were after that dramatic L change. You'll have those kinds of massive impacts in your life. And that's why it's so important to guard ourselves. Because, we have changed, but also the things have changed themselves. Because if you're changing, what does that also mean, by the way? Everybody around you is changing, and so is everything is changing. And you're thinking about the external world. You ever consider this? Maybe not, but you should. If I take a car and I put a car out in a cornfield and I leave it there for 50 years and I come back in 50 years, what am I going to find?
A car overcome by all the corn.
A what?
It's like overcome by all the plants.
Yeah, a car that's been overcome by the plants. It's rusted out. It's trashed. But if I don't put that car there, it's just a cornfield. I come back in 50 years and I leave it alone. I leave it to nature. Guess what I find? Enormous, strong, delicious corn. Probably. Of course, I say that to you, it's like, well, yeah, duh, because corn and cars are different things. Yeah, because the same elements that rust iron are gonna ripen corn. Duh. Of course. But now I ask you, why is it that two people can have the same experience and be changed differently by them?
Because we're
Yeah, but we're made of the same stuff, aren't we? Like cars and corn are not, but humans are, aren't we?
But we all have like the guide, like we all, like our parents are taught like the structure, but not all obviously show the same structure, like teach us.
Yeah, because we're a different person stepping into those elements. And the very fact that you can be a different person is important. Because that should tell you that you are changed and you are shaped by the things that you encounter. And just like you are, and it's so obvious to us a lot of times, like, well, yeah, people are changed. Yeah, but do you realize what that means? It means that there's something incredibly specific and individual and special and precious about you as an individual, that there's nothing else like you in the universe, man. There are a lot of cars, and they all react in the exact same way, man. But man, you take two people, and you have them both watch the same movie, and they're going to have incredibly different perspectives on it. They're going to be impacted by them differently, because think about like what people do. People kill for gold and diamonds. Why? Well, because they're rare. They're precious. Are you picking up what I'm laying down here, man? How incredibly precious and unique are you versus all the gold? Look, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Yeah, and if you look at the universe, man, it's a big universe. And there's 8 billion people, but there's only one individual like you. Now, if I were to give you a diamond and say, this diamond is worth $10 million, hold on to it. Would you just like put it in your pocket and walk around and just like, take it out once in a while and juggle it? Or would you take that thing and take incredibly good care of it? Because it's not only, maybe you might even look at it and go, I could sell this $10 million thing right now. Well, you know what? If it's worth $10 million now, what is this thing going to be worth in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? This thing is only going to become more precious if I take care of it. If every day you get out and you take some sandpaper and you scratch away at it, and then, of course, after 10, 20, 30 years, you're not going to have something that's precious. It's valuable. It's valuable, but it's scuffed up, man. It doesn't reflect as it should. It's not as pretty as it once was. And you're the exact same way. If you don't take care of yourself, you look at yourself in 10, 20, 30 years, and you ask yourself, what am I really worth? I don't know, how much have you scuffed yourself up? How much have you taken care of yourself, though? And as soon as you realize that me giving you that diamond is an incredible responsibility to take care of it, how much more important is the task of taking care of yourself and presenting yourself, preparing yourself, maximizing yourself, and keeping yourself shiny by not scuffing yourself up. And we scuff ourselves up in all kinds of ways. It's the conversations we have. It's the people we indulge with. It's the music we listen to. It's the movies we watch. All of these things that we intuitively recognize do change us. And if you think it doesn't change you, just look at the way you talk, look at the way you walk, look at the way you dress, look at the way there's a little bit of influence in everything that we've taken in, because, you can stop me if you've heard this before, but you have to be an absolute sea of virtue to take in just a little bit of pollution without becoming polluted. So, yeah, you're right. Everything around you is changing. Some things that were great a minute ago are not so great now. People are the same way. But just as you're changing, people are changing. Hopefully for the better. Hopefully for the better. So that goes back to what we were saying earlier about giving people that opportunity, that space to be better, trusting that they can be. But trust especially in the sense that you can become better. Because the world that you're walking out into today is different, and so are you. So are you. So Stop being that person who says, I've seen it all. I'm sorry, I've seen it all. You know, I've done it all. No, you haven't, man. Because 30-year-old you is not going to experience that water the same way. You have less excitement because it's not the first time, but you have a deeper skill set to find ways to appreciate it. Maybe, when you were a kid, you appreciated going somewhere with your family because you enjoyed spending time with your family. And hopefully when you're 35 or so, 30, 35, you'll enjoy going and doing that same thing with your family, only it's not the same family. It's your family, the one that you've made. And it's you, the you that you've made. And at that point, you get the memories that you make. Questions? Comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques?